he downplayed everything that would have led to the actual conflict of interest finding. If it was going to lead him there, he just continued to downplay it. I'll give you a couple of examples. He talked about how she brought in Wade, that she had extended an offer to former Governor Roy Barnes, who declined, that the contract gave him $250 an hour, relatively low amount by Metro Atlanta standards for an attorney with Wade's years of service. No evidence was introduced that indicates Wade ever received permission to exceed his monthly hour caps. Okay, you could focus on that, or you could focus on the fact that every single one of his bills was rubber stamped by Fani Willis with zero review and paid without question, even though some of them looked very sketchy, like billing 24 hours in a day. So he focused on, okay, well, I didn't see any evidence showing he went over the monthly cap. Well, that shouldn't determine this. Then he went on to talk about their travels together. Between October and May of 23, they traveled together on 4 occasions: Miami, Aruba, all the trips, Belize, and so on, Napa. And he shows you what Wade paid, including their numerous day trips around the Georgia area. And he says, in total, defendants point to an aggregate documented benefit of at most $12,000 to $15,000 in the district attorney's favor. Then he says, the DA and Wade testified these expenditures were not meant as gifts and not designed to benefit the DA. Both testified that the DA regularly reimbursed Wade in cash. And if not reimbursed, the DA covered a comparable related expense. For example, she testified she reimbursed him in cash for the Aruba trip, which she estimated cost around $2,000, and that she, quote, gave him money for both cruises. She further claimed she reimbursed him for the entirety of the Belize trip, and that she paid for Napa Valley excursions. Finally, while Wade could have bought meals in 2020 totaling more than $100, she would also regularly pay for his meals. Then he says the following, Alan: such a reimbursement practice may be unusual, and the lack of any documentary corroboration understandably concerning. Yet the testimony, here we go, withstood direct contradiction, was corroborated by other evidence, for example, her payment of airfare for 2 on the 2022 Miami trip, and was not so incredible as to be inherently unbelievable. However, as the DA herself acknowledged, no ledger exists. Other than a best guesstimate, there's no way to be certain that expenses were split completely evenly, and the DA may well have received a net benefit of several $100. Again, downplaying. Despite this, after considering all the surrounding circumstances, the court finds the evidence did not establish the DA's receipt of a material financial benefit as a result of her decision to hire and engage in a romantic relationship with Wade's. The defendants have not presented sufficient evidence indicating that the expenses were not roughly divided evenly, to your point of who's got the burden, or that the DA was or currently remains greatly and pecuniarily interested in this prosecution.
Look, I don't believe that, and I have to tell you, I don't think the judge believes that. I just think he found that.
Agreed.
You talk about 4 hours a day billing. I remember a lawyer who framed in his office a bill in which he charged for 27 hours in a day because he had traveled internationally and it had changed the time. And, yeah, it's possible, but I have to tell you, no jury would believe that. And a judge should not believe that. She would not. If she had been charged criminally with accepting money, she'd be convicted. There are people in jail on far, far less evidence. And when she's lied about when her relationship began, why do you believe her on these issues of undocumented payments? His decision is scandalous. And it's not his naive take, because I think he's smart. I think he just did everything in his power to be able to say to an appellate court, look, I've evaluated all the evidence, it raises questions, but there's not enough here to find that she materially benefited. She materially benefited, probably to the tune of thousands of dollars, and she had an affair that started before she hired him, and she committed perjury on the stand. And when that happens, the prosecutor should be disqualified. This is the wrong decision made for all the wrong reasons.
He goes on to say, the opinion is full of criticisms of her and Nathan Wade. So he's trying to telegraph to us what you said, that he knows He knows what you and I know. He just didn't have the stones to actually do what was right.
Right.
He says on page 9 of the opinion, again, this is him denying that there's an actual conflict of interest. And so the audience is clear. He then went on to say, but notwithstanding the absence of evidence of an actual conflict of interest, the appearance of a conflict, the appearance of impropriety is enough for me to do something. But it's not enough for me to DQ them. I'm going to give them the opportunity to cure. They have the opportunity to cure their impropriety. And that's how we got to the place where he said, either bounce Wade or bounce yourself. But back on the first point of actual conflict. Without sufficient evidence that the DA acquired a personal stake in the prosecution or that her financial arrangements had any impact on the case, the defendant's claims of an actual conflict must be denied. Then he goes on to add, this finding is by no means an indication that the court condones this tremendous lapse in judgment or the unprofessional manner of the district attorney's testimony during the evidentiary hearing. Rather, it is the undersigned's opinion that Georgia law does not permit the finding of an actual conflict for simply making bad choices, even repeatedly. And it is this trial court's duty to confine itself to the relevant issues and applicable law. And then quickly, Alan, he adds, this is important, and we're going to talk more about this as the hour goes on. Other forums or sources of authority, such as the General Assembly, the Georgia State Ethics Commission, the State Bar of Georgia, the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, or the voters of Fulton County, that's 5 at least, may offer feedback on any unanswered questions that linger. But those are not the issues determinative to the defendant's motions alleging an actual conflict. To me, this is him basically saying, I know these are dirtbags. I get it. Trust me. But that's a matter for these 5 other agencies to now pursue and investigate vigorously. For purposes of this case, the farthest I'll go is choose one, Fani or Wade stays.
But he left out the most important agencies, and that is prosecutorial agencies. There ought to be a criminal investigation. There ought to be a criminal prosecution. There is, in my mind, proof beyond a reasonable doubt that they committed a perjury. He, in fact, says unprofessionally as a witness. What does that mean? Unprofessionally as a witness. She didn't act disrespectfully or anything like that. She lied. That's more than unprofessional. That's perjury. This is a clear, open and shut case of perjury and probably conspiracy to commit perjury and probably obstruction of justice. Maybe witness tampering. And if they don't open a criminal investigation, who will guard the guardians? Who will prosecute the prosecutors? We're all at risk when prosecutors can act the way she did without any possibility that they will be prosecuted for what seems obvious to have been perjury about so many different things. As I said before, people that she has prosecuted and are in prison based on far, far less evidence than the evidence against her and Willis, against her and Wade.
I want to tell you about the Association of Mature American Citizens, or AMAC, an organization dedicated to America's seniors. AMAC stands out today by not only advocating for senior issues, but also by pushing for conservative values that affect us all. If you join, you're not just supporting America's senior citizens, you can become part of a movement defending our freedoms and securing our nation's future. Plus, membership brings you exclusive benefits like discounts on travel, dining, entertainment, and special insurance rates. Regardless of your age, if you're driven to preserve freedom, AMAC welcomes you. Sign up now at amac.us/Megyn. And for a limited time, get a free gift membership for someone who shares your love of our great nation. Don't miss out on this chance to make a difference with AMAC. Join today at amac.us/Megyn and extend the invitation to a friend or family member for free. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.